Hey guys, Levi Samuel here. Today I want to talk about showing versus telling. One of the first things that I was told whenever I became an author, or more, an aspiring author, I was doing it, I just wasn't doing it well. I was told to show, not tell. And a lot of the authors that I know, they've been given very similar advice. And the problem is, it's not great advice because it's incomplete. People say, show, don't tell. First off, a lot of people don't know what that means. They don't explain what it means. They quote, show, don't tell. They don't ever tell you what exactly that means, so you can identify it and learn from it. The other thing of that is it's not completely accurate. There are times to show and there are times to tell. Like everything else in this industry, it's a balancing act. You have to learn the teeter to the line. I'll tell you how to identify showing, how to identify telling, and when to use both as best I can. That's one of the biggest struggles I have with trying to do actual craft content, is a lot of this stuff is learned by experience. It's hard for me to tell you how to do something because there are so many different ways to do things. It's difficult for me to just say, this is the only way you can do it. That's not correct. There are multiple ways to do it. I can tell you the ways that work for me. I can tell you the ways that work for people that I know. Really, at the end of the day, it's just experimenting and seeing what works best for you. As long as it works for you and the end content is readable and understandable to your readers, then great. Really, that's what it's all about, is creating content that your readers can enjoy. It hooks them, it pulls them in. They're not constantly being thrown out by minor errors. At the end of it, that's what it's all about. Now, for showing versus telling, the first way that I learned to understand what exactly that means, anytime you are speaking as a narrator, anytime you're narrating a place, an event, anytime you're narrating, period, you are telling. Showing is where you are describing the details and allowing the reader's mind to fill in the blanks. If someone were to say the old drill sergeant, almost everybody is going to think of Sergeant Emery, the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket, or any other experience you've had with a drill sergeant. Everybody knows what a drill sergeant is, so therefore just by saying drill sergeant, everybody's already got a crisp, clear image in their head of what that is. That is a good example of showing. If you were to just say the guy with the hat, they can see a hat, but there's no telling what type of hat it is. Narrating is telling, description is showing. Now, they say show, don't tell. The truth is there is a fine balance between the two. You have to know when to show and when to tell. Most of the time when you're showing, you're going to be using a higher word count than when you're telling. When you're just narrating something through, you're leaving a lot of room for interpretation. You're not setting the image in stone. People can imagine different things, see different things. That's why so many people say books are better than movies, because movies show you exactly what they want you to see. There's not a whole lot of read between the lines going on. When you're reading a book, you have a lot more interpretation of the way the reader views the story and sees things happening. And that is more with the telling portion of it rather than the showing. When you're showing, you are locking down exactly what you want them to see. When you're telling, that is when you're just passing the time, spots that are less important with detail, you're letting the reader envision the world the way they want to envision it, instead of the way you want them to envision it. And then of course, whenever you've ridden that fine line and you've sprinkled in your showing and your telling, all the showing that you're doing is going to reinforce the telling that's going on. So even though that you're telling, you're not giving the description, from the previous showings that you've given them enough of a picture to fill in the blanks. The pinnacle of all of this is something called the pyramid of abstraction. If you imagine basically a triangle, the lower on that pyramid that you go, the more solid belief that you are going to have. That means the more that you are showing, the lower down on the pyramid of abstraction you're going to be. If you say the rose, even though there are multiple colors of roses, most everybody is going to automatically think of a red rose. It'll have the green stem, it'll have the green leaves. That's going to be pretty low on the pyramid of abstraction. It's a grounded ideology of what it's supposed to look like, like, so therefore that one term is going to solidify that description. Whereas if you say a term like dog, almost everybody you say that term to is going to think of something entirely different. There are multiple species of dogs out there. Everybody's thinking of a dog, but it's unusual for them to all be thinking of the same dog. Now, if you were to elaborate and say that it's a white dog with black spots and it's only got 3 legs, the more description you give to the term dog, the lower on the pyramid of abstraction you're anchoring it down. Up toward the peak, nobody really knows what's going on. The more description you give, the more anchored it becomes and the closer to the ground it will be as far as understanding. Now, the real trick to using the pyramid of abstraction is if you can give crystal clear description with the least amount of words. And that's where terms like rose come in handy, because it's a single word, everybody knows what it means. With the dog, you have to give more description. And those are just 2 quick examples to kind of give you an understanding, and really it's just something to think about. I can't make you a master with one video on this topic. It's just a matter of understanding what you're looking at and practice until you get better. Once you've gotten good enough to be able to identify it for yourself, then you should be pretty good on continuing on and learning and just going from there. Anyway, that's about all I'm going to cover today. I'm going to go ahead and get off of here, and we will talk to you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye.